Hello and welcome to The World Today. I'm Joke Rogers. Let's bring you the latest happenings around the world within this half hour. Despite airstrikes reported this morning between Israel and Hezbollah, both sides have now agreed to a ceasefire. The agreement follows concerns that continued fighting in Lebanon could undermine the deal between the U.S. and Iran, which called for an end to military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon. It also comes as Lebanon's health ministry said at least 47 people have been killed and 97 others wounded in Israeli airstrikes in the country today. A statement by the ministry says the deaths took place between midnight and this afternoon when a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah was announced. Israel said earlier today that it had struck two Hezbollah command centers in the Bekaa Valley, eastern Lebanon, before confirming the ceasefire had indeed taken hold. Well, a new round of direct talks between the U.S. and Iran has been postponed after U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance delayed his planned trip to Switzerland. The White House announced late on Thursday that Mr. Vance would not be traveling for the talks owing to unpredictable logistic problems. It comes a day after the U.S. dropped its naval blockade of Iran after the two countries signed a deal aimed at ending the conflict. Hours before the White House issued the statement, Hezbollah-linked Lebanese media reported that the talks had been suspended due to ongoing Israeli airstrikes. Negotiators had been due to meet for what U.S. officials described as technical discussions on the next steps of the agreement signed earlier this week. Well, last night, the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance held a press conference where he appeared confused about the exact time the 60-day negotiation period with Iran began. The U.S. and Iran were meant to sign the peace deal today as part of a 60-day negotiation between the two. President Donald Trump signed the deal in Versailles on Wednesday evening, and Iran's President Masoud Jazayeri was also seen during the same.
Period officially started today. It was signed late, and it may have even been signed technically, because of the time shift. I think it's signed technically today, Iran time. So yes, the deal started yesterday. We're going to start the 60-day clock today.
And just like his principal, the U.S. Vice President, Mr. Vance, reiterated that at that press conference that the role of former U.S. President Barack Obama played in its previous deal with Iran proved ineffective. He says the Obama deal gave them over $1 billion of American money.
The two big differences are not even in the substance of the deal itself, but something I said earlier are, number one, the Gulf Coast Coalition loves this deal because they think that it makes Iran weaker. They hated the Obama deal because they thought that it made Iran stronger. They know more about this, and they have more to lose than anybody, including the United States of America, so I trust their judgment. The second thing is where the deal came from. You have to remember, in 2015, Iran had built a sophisticated nuclear weapons program with a nuclear weapons stockpile. So the perspective that we came at as the United States was, you already have a really nice nuclear program, we're going to bribe you with American money in order to stop it. Our perspective and where we're coming at it is we already destroyed your nuclear program. And so if you promise and show verifiable pathways to not rebuild it, then we're willing to give you some sanctions relief and things like that. So it's a fundamentally different perspective. Now, there are all these substantive differences as well. The Obama nuclear deal allowed enrichment. Ours will not. The Obama deal allowed the accumulation of stockpiled weapons-grade material. Ours is actually leading to the destruction of that stockpile of enriched material. So there are many differences. The Obama deal gave them over $1 billion of American money. This deal gives them $0 of American money. So a lot of substantive differences, but I think the most important differences are where we're coming at it from a position of strength and the fact that our Gulf Coast partners love this deal.
Away from that situation to some health developments, the U.S. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has accused former director of the U.S. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, Dr. Anthony Fauci, of funding risky coronavirus research in China before the pandemic, then helping steer U.S. intelligence assessments away from a possible lab origin for COVID-19. She made the accusations in a video recording as the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released a new batch of documents on the origins of COVID-19. She claimed that work was now widely viewed as the source of the unintentional lab leak that sparked the pandemic. The documents include an index of emails, reports, whistleblower complaints, and EcoHealth Alliance grant materials linked to the COVID-19 origins. He is one of the best-known public health figures in the United States, a physician and immunologist. He led the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases from 1984 to 2022, advised 7 U.S. presidents, and became a daily face of the U.S. COVID-19 response under Donald Trump and Joe Biden. He has not commented on this latest development.
Maximum transparency mandate. Today, on my final day as Director of National Intelligence, I'm releasing never-before-seen communications and documents that expose exactly how Fauci worked with politicized career leadership in the intelligence community to suppress the truth about his actions, the virus's lab leak origins, and his role in directing U.S. funding for this dangerous research that caused immeasurable harm and countless lost lives. Now, these documents expose Fauci's direct role in influencing and manipulating IC assessments on COVID-19 and how Fauci lied to Congress in 2024 when under oath he denied knowledge of or participation in discussions with intelligence officials about viral research. We also received testimony from multiple intelligence community whistleblowers who reported retaliation for challenging the intelligence community's manipulation of intelligence on the virus's origins, once again revealing a clear pattern of suppressing dissent, silencing critics, and burying the truth. Dr. Fauci's close relationships with the intelligence community enabled him to assume 3 key roles that shield him from scrutiny. First, Dr. Fauci funded dangerous gain-of-function coronavirus research linked to Big Pharma and their pursuit of universal vaccines worth trillions of dollars. Second, Dr. Fauci was the behind-the-scenes advisor who, alongside his hand-picked so-called experts, pushed the intelligence community to endorse a natural animal origin to hide his dangerous gain-of-function research that he funded using taxpayer dollars, all of this in a deliberate attempt to cover up the truth and shift the blame and attention away from Fauci's own actions. Third, Dr. Fauci became the nation's pandemic pundit, and he publicly pushed lies, disinformation, and censorship using every platform available.
Let's switch gears now. Climate change has been a challenge to farmers around the world for years now. And with extreme weather events becoming more common, the agricultural sector needs help feeding a growing global population. The European Union has now picked up the topic too. Lars Holte is with Deutsche Welle and joins me now from Berlin. Lars, great to hear from you today. What's the EU doing on this matter?
The European Union has loosened restrictions on genetically modified crops. The decision in Brussels is, of course, highly controversial, but let me get to some of the details here. In future, and we're talking as soon as 2028 as a starting date, foods modified by genetic engineering techniques may be sold in EU supermarkets without special labeling. Now, no labeling, of course, doesn't mean that there will be no regulation. In fact, these genetically modified foods remain subject to the same safety requirements as regular traditionally grown varieties that are usually developed through crossbreeding and selection. Now, there will be 2 categories for genetic engineering. No tests will be necessary for minor modifications, but wherever genes from different plants are being brought together or bacteria is injected into the genetic makeup of a plant, there will be strict requirements for testing before approval of product.
And with this, topic generally being controversial, Why did the European Commission move to loosen regulations?
Actually, proponents of these EU-wide changes hope that they will lead to two outcomes. One is, of course, to make it easier for farmers to grow certain products, while at the same time giving consumers better products. Specifically, genetically modifying plants would lead to grain, fruit, and vegetable varieties that offer higher yields, sometimes maybe even higher nutritional value, and this is the most important part, they would be more resilient to climate change. The European Parliament also notes that modified varieties, including, for example, corn, wheat, and rice that require less water, that they're already available outside the EU. And given current climate trends, it is easy to see that we need to improve crops to deal with what's coming at them. So the EU decision was actually also celebrated by scientists. They believe that less stringent regulation will facilitate more research.
And, why does the genetic modification of food have so many critics then?
There are mainly two reasons. First of all, consumer advocates are saying that people should simply have all the information they need to make their own choice on what to buy, meaning the problem here is not necessarily that genetically modified food is available, but that it's not labeled that way. However, an even bigger problem is that farmers will have to deal with patents that agri-science firms are going to slap on their goods, on their products, and farmers that might even by accident use certain plants, even if they found their way onto a field by way of the wind or cross-pollination or something like that, that these farmers will be at risk for lawsuits. Then there's also fears that eventually large numbers of genetically modified plants could overwhelm natural systems and actually lower natural biodiversity. So there is still quite a lot to be skeptical about here when it comes to these new rules.
Oh, thanks again, Lars. We're in the United Kingdom now as we welcome you back to the World Today, where news of Andy Burnham's win in the Makerfield by-election is settling in Britain. But Prime Minister Keir Starmer says Labour should pull together. In a call with Labour staff, the Prime Minister warned against turning on each other and tearing apart the party and the movement. Mr. Burnham himself says he wants to lay out a new path for Britain following his win, which opens the door for him to challenge Mr. Starmer in general elections. He told supporters in his new constituency, Labour needs to make life affordable again. The Nigerian military authorities have accused France of backing the attackers behind the assault on the airport, claiming armed mercenaries funded by the French president attempted to storm the facility on Thursday. This was contained in a statement broadcast on state television. It says some of the attackers were equipped with explosive belts and arrived using civilian transport vehicles, including taxis, before being stopped by security forces. The Ministry of Defense confirmed the number of people killed, including those they had neutralized, at 35. He later gave assurances that the Diori Hamani International Airport in Niamey was now fully secured. France is yet to respond to the accusations. The Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs has clarified what it recently signed, or why it recently signed, a transfer of sentenced persons agreement with the Federal Republic, Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. According to the minister, Bianca Odumegu-Ojukwu, this was in line with the citizen diplomacy of the Renewed Hope administration of President Bola Tinubu, which places priority on the Nigerians in diaspora. She disclosed that efforts are ongoing to intervene in cases of other Nigerians imperiled in parts of the world. Mrs. Odumegu-Ojukwu dismissed the purported list circulating in various media platforms as the names and numbers of Nigerian inmates in Ethiopia prisons as fake, insisting that Nigeria did not have 136 inmates in that country. The minister also described some of the crimes attributed to them as wild tangent. She said that the government was determined to bring the inmates home to serve their sentences with dignity without exposing them to inhuman conditions. The Mexican fans have packed into Plaza Garibaldi in the capital city to celebrate a crucial 1-0 World Cup victory over South Korea. Inside Bar Tenampa, one of Garibaldi's most famous venues, both local and foreign supporters sang along with mariachis as they cheered Mexico's second straight victory of the tournament. Outside the square, hundreds more fans gathered to join the celebration. Well, Mexico beat South Korea by the narrowest of margins, with Luis Romo scoring the only goal of the match following a costly mistake by goalkeeper Kim Song-gyu. The result sends Mexico through to the knockout stage as Group A winners, making the co-hosts the first team to officially qualify for the round of 32. Meanwhile, South Korea remain in second place in Group A with Czechia and South Africa trailing behind them.
Excelente ambiente, mi primera vez en un mundial y ha sido una experiencia muy buena.
Before we wrap up the program this week, let's keep you updated with this next story. The Mexican state of Jalisco has smashed the Guinness World Record for the largest serving of guacamole after preparing a massive 12-ton batch. The monumental effort brought together chefs, avocado producers, and around 800 gastronomy students. Avocado producer and the mayor of Concepcion de Buenos Aires, Gerardo Lopez, says Jalisco is the second largest avocado producer in Mexico and has become a vital player in global avocado exports. Guinness World Records judge Alfredo Rueda presented the official certificate to Jalisco Governor Pablo Lemos. The new milestone beats the previous record set in April by Tanciataro in neighboring Mocoacan, where producers prepared a 6.8-ton batch of guacamole. Jalisco remains one of Mexico's agricultural powerhouses. Federal agricultural figures describe it as the country's second biggest avocado producer, yielding more than 256,000 tons a year and exporting to dozens of countries, including Canada, Japan, Spain, the United Arab Emirates, and Russia. Well, what do you know? Delicious guacamole. Well, that's it on our program this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Joker Rogers. Bye for now.